What is going on, my people? Good morning, good morning. We're diving into the big leap today. I am joined by my beautiful co-host, Teresa, who everybody comes to the channel for, and they don't come for me, but here I am. Guys, today is we're having a summary over this really powerful book that we read in our book club for coaches. And here's one of the things that comes up when I think about what I gleaned from this book, which is really powerful. And that is if you are either a coach and you're trying to grow a business and right before the big breakthrough happens, something comes up, whether you stall, you doubt, you disappear. And we're like, why in the world does the outside world always do this to me when I get to this last point? Then today's lesson in session is going to be powerful for you. Or maybe you have a client that does that. They start gaining momentum. They start creating some results. And then before you know it, something comes up and gets them off track. Well, one of the big takeaways, and you're going to hear my top 3 takeaways from this book. One of the big takeaways for me was that sometimes we are actually creating those experiences for ourselves. They aren't happening by the outside world. They aren't a result of being in the situation that we're in, but actually it's a level of discomfort that we're unwilling to feel. And sometimes it has a little bit to do with the unwillingness to feel more abundance, more success, and more love every day. And because of that, we live right under our greatest opportunity, right? And that's what we're going to be discussing today. So welcome to the call. I'm going to share my 3 breakthrough lessons from The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. And we're going to dive into any lessons that you guys have gotten and pulled from the book. Looks like we have Tina and Anthony here. Anthony's putting out some fires and stuff. I forget, was it New Mexico? Crazy, man. Crazy. Appreciate you so much. And Tina, always putting out fires everywhere else. The literal or the figurative fires. Right, Tina? All right, guys. So Teresa, good morning. How are you doing, friend?
Good friend.
You're my friend now.
Good morning.
All right, so let's dive right in, guys. So while reading this book, by the way, if you haven't picked it up, definitely a great read. I had heard about this book multiple times before, and I'm like, well, I've already taken a few big leaps. I'm not really sure if I'm going to learn a lot from that. I learned some really crazy, and amazing and incredible things from this book, and I want to share 3 of those lessons for you. By the way, as we go, remind me, Teresa, before we end, to talk about the book club and what's going to happen there. But one of the things that I always try and do, and I hope you guys are doing this too, is pull out the lessons that you need to learn from the books and bless and release the rest, right? That's why we're doing the 3 greatest breakthrough lessons in this book, because there's 1,000 lessons in this book, and we could all be inundated with just learning and not implementing if we lean into that, all right? So that being said, I want to dive into lesson number 1. And lesson number 1, I'm actually going to see if I can copy and paste this for you guys in the chat, is that the upper limit problem is real and it's sneaky AF. Okay, it's PG-13 this morning, okay? The upper limit problem is real. So one of the things that he talks about in here is that oftentimes where we get stuck isn't necessarily with strategy. It's because we have hit our upper limit of where we currently feel safe, where we currently feel like we have a decent amount of success or joy or visibility, when in reality, there's so much more that's out there, but we prevent ourselves from rising to that level because we're unconsciously pulling ourselves back. He calls this the upper limit problem. That's where you get to a certain point. Things are rolling. You're getting some success. You're starting to, let's say, for example, you're starting to lose weight. You're starting to work out. You're feeling healthier. And then something happens, right? It's like, oh, the holidays came, or summertime came, or this happened, or that happened. And then before we know it, we get back into our old habits and our old behavior. I definitely can see a lot of opportunities and times when I've actually hit my upper limit, and instead of leaning in and pushing through it and finding new opportunities, I actually have backed down. And it's easy to see, especially in other people rather than it is in yourself, but being able to see that it is sneaky and it will find a way to hold you back from taking that big leap is a big deal. So when we think about this whole idea of an upper limit problem, I like to also think about it like this, is they have there's this quote that's new level, new devil, right? And that means when you get through your old limit and you raise the bar and you're able to get through that new limit, that new upper limit, now you're presented with the next one, and then the next one, and then the next one. And so it's the willingness to make these things conscious, right? That's what we do as coaches. We make things that people don't even know are holding them back. We actually show them. We pull the curtains back and go, did you see this? And get them to see, oh, wow, I didn't even realize that was the case. And that's really where we have the greatest opportunity to blast through those upper limits, right? So that was my first big takeaway, is that these upper limit problems are real. We may call them different things. Some people call things like limiting beliefs. Some people call them self-sabotage. The way he describes it is an upper limit problem. And I really love how he breaks it down. So Teresa, anything on that?
Yeah, I find it really fascinating that I realized this when I was coaching other people, that they were afraid of success. And it's not that they realized that at the moment, but as we started to work through some of the things that were holding them back, it was the idea that there was change coming, or there was this thought that if they were to become successful or were to achieve the things that they actually did want to achieve, that was going to bring a lot of stress. It was going to bring a new level of overwhelm and all of these negative things. So they were afraid of that. They were afraid of change. They were afraid of stepping outside of that, of what they found was, comfort, even though it was technically still uncomfortable for them. But I just found it like a realization for myself, because I didn't even realize that. I didn't realize people could actually be afraid of success.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely crazy that, I mean, not crazy, but it's like when we think about all of the things that we have, all the environments we've been in, all the people that have, told us things, our belief system being formed, the trauma that we've been through, all of the emotional experiences, all that kind of stuff. Like that's actually what creates our belief system, that like there's always ways that we can talk ourselves into, whether it's not taking action. And sometimes it's because of the fear of success. Sometimes it's the fear of failure. Sometimes it's perfectionism. There's so many different ways, right? That's why we have to coach people in like that capacity to be able to get to the like the root of it. But yes, like it's just crazy, because you can think of somebody who has the opposite thing and they have no, like the fear of success is like not even on their radar. They're like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like I can sail forever, but then something else would be keeping them stuck. Right. It just goes to show you like how the human brain, how powerful it is, right? How it could keep us from doing the things we need to do, but also how we could use it for us and actually not only help us, but help other people to do it, right? So, all right, break our biggest insight number 2, all right? And this is a really, I was talking about this the other day while I was on a one-on-one call with Tina, and that is like the difference in your zone of genius and your zone of excellence. So your zone of genius is what you're good at, but isn't what you're good at. It's what lights you up. So one of the things that like I have really come into my zone recently is realizing that there's certain things that like are my zone of genius that I love more than anything. And when I'm doing it, like time seems to fly, and I really crush things in that area, and people come to me for that all the time. But I find that a lot of times it's not the space that I spend the most time with. I tend to spend the most time in my zone of excellence, which is the things that I get paid well for, the things that, I don't necessarily love as much, but I'm like okay and halfway decent at. And what he talks about is the difference between your zone of excellence, the zone of genius, and how when you're in your zone of genius, that is kind of like your way of giving back to the world based off of your strengths. And your zone of excellence is a mixture of like some of your strengths, but sometimes you don't necessarily love to do it, but it feels like it sometimes sucks the life out of you, right? And so we've been putting together, just an example, we've been putting together our certification, right? We've been doing it for a couple of months. And by the way, if anybody is interested in hearing about what our coaching certification looks like, we did a live stream last week. Was it last week? No, this week on Tuesday, to talk a little bit about it and some of the ups and downs and things that are there. But when I think about like my zone of genius, it's helping teach other people how to lead and coach others, having great conversations and really pulling out the best, but also helping them, like we talked about in number 1, getting to the root of what's actually holding them back. Like the biggest thing that I've leaned into is helping people identify what type of problem that they're going through, because people don't even necessarily know the exact problem that they're going through, and then you can't fix a problem that you don't know the problem that you're actually dealing with, right? But when I do those things, it really lights me up. And I noticed that I've been doing that just in my I wouldn't say off time, but I would say in between the cracks, right? I haven't been putting as much time and energy as I am putting into like some of the other things we do. Like we have the Coach Accelerator. I have one-on-one clients. I coach in a couple other people's businesses. I coach corporate clients, those kind of things. And like one-on-one coaching, depending on the client, I do really enjoy, but not as much as me teaching people how to coach other people how to coach. And so when you think about this, like I've noticed, and even I did this in my police career, is that I was operating from my zone of excellence, the thing that I got paid or rewarded for. And it wasn't me stepping into my deeper genius of stepping into like my zone of genius, which is more along the lines of coaching, right? And so it was hard to leave my police career because there's safety, there's comfort, there's a payday every 2 weeks, there's insurance, there's all of those things, right? But that was also my zone of excellence, and I feel like it was holding me back from doing the things that I really was meant to do. And then when I made that transition, I realized that this was my zone of genius. But even within my zone of genius, like I was saying, like we teach inside of our Coach Accelerator, and I love that. I really love doing that. People say that I'm good at it. But when I take it to the next level and I help teach other coaches how to coach and lead and mentor others, like that's really where I feel like everything falls into synergy. And people say, they come to our trainings like they did last Tuesday and they're like, I want that. That's what I want, right? And I feel like I don't even have to worry about my energy. It just happens naturally, right? And so one of the things that we've been doing in our community is talking about like, what is your zone of excellence and what is your zone of genius? Because when you can identify what those things are, then you can see like, where are you spending more time? Are you spending more time in your zone of excellence? Are you spending more time in your zone of genius? And where do you how could you make a transition, or what would that look like? Right? So I'd love to hear your feedback on this though, Teresa, about the difference between the zone of genius versus excellence and anything that comes up for you.
Yeah, just listening to you talk about it, it kind of sounds like there's just like different layers of it, right? Because your zone of excellence, let's say, for example, your law enforcement career, that was your zone of excellence, but your zone of genius is the thing that you kind of went towards, which was coaching. But then even within that, you find yourself like within the zone of genius, there's like different layers, and there's a specific thing within that, whole, the whole business, or the thing that your purpose, there's that like specific thing that you're not doing a lot of right now, but you're working towards that because that's what lights you up. That's what brings you, the joy of seeing other coaches develop and find their zone of genius as well.
Yep. 100%. 100%. Okay. Let's move into the third biggest insight. All right. And this insight is one that a lot of people in our group really called out to. And that is that you don't need to be fixed. You just need to expand. So you don't need to be fixed. You just need to expand. One of the things that he talks about in here is a affirmation that he says every single day that helps him to step into this opportunity of expansion. All right. He says it's not all about solving problems. It's not all about like overcoming fear all the time. It's being willing to receive without adding in any more guilt. And here is the affirmation that he says. He says, I expand in abundance, success, and love every day as I inspire those around me to do the same. And one of the things that he really dives into like throughout the whole entire book is how when we reach that certain level and we don't feel worthy of achieving more abundance, more success, and more love, that's when we start to self-sabotage. We feel like we get to this level, what can I do? Because I'm not worthy to accept this stuff above it. And it's not like we have a conscious thought around this. It is a subconscious thought based off of the patterns in our programming in our brain that got us to be where we're at right now, right? And so by reframing that, by being able to rework this into your conscious mind and telling yourself that I'm expanding in abundance, success, and love every day as I inspire those around me to do the same, will help you be more open to actually finding what you need to find, but also like accepting that next level of success that is already inside of you. So I've been actually using this as one of my affirmations. I think it's really powerful, especially the last part, as I inspire those around me to do the same. It's a big thing for me. Like impact is one of my core values, is thinking about how I can inspire other people to do this, and reminding myself of that is extremely powerful. So what are your thoughts on that? Can you hear me?
Sorry, I couldn't like push the button for some reason. Yeah, I think that this makes me think about the growth model that we teach inside the certification, where there's two sides to it. There's the unconscious side, and then there's the conscious side. And many times when we are coaching someone through a particular situation, there's a lot of focus on the unconscious side, because we want to find the deep rooted belief that is causing them to have the results that they're getting. But this makes me think about how there's this focus on the conscious side, right? The potential for the future, the things that you really want. And I mean, even in our notes here, he talks about like to expand your capacity for joy, right? Rather than like trying to overcome every fear. So yeah, it's important to try and like dig up some of those things that are holding us back, but then we sometimes fail to look for the positive things, look for the joy, look for the things that we do want. So there's like a good balance there, but it's not always about overcoming those fears and overcoming those limiting beliefs, because we can get kind of stuck in that cycle as well.
100%, 100%. And Cynthia and Elijah, what's going on, my friends? What's going on? As you say that, like, I know that there are some people who, like this does speak to, when it comes to like, how can I have a strategy to identify my upper limits, figure out how to rewrite that, really get myself to not only the root of what's going on, but actually be more open to accepting that joy and that more success. And that's literally what we do inside of our certification. So if that is something that you're wanting to lean into, because the most powerful leaders in the world are able to help people like in that capacity, where they not only can help themselves and lead themselves to more success, but they can do that with the people that they lead. And having a framework and structure to be able to do that is the thing that not only helped me get promoted in LAPD up to sergeant, but also like create our business. Now we get to both be full-time coaches and leave both of the corporate lives that we used to live, and do so in a way that like we get to spend more time with family, right? And it's because when you help enough people get what they want, like they say, you can have anything that you want. And getting to the root of their problems and being able to raise their upper limit is really what we love to do, and that's what we do inside of the certification. And if, by the way, if that's something anybody you're interested in, reach out to us either inside of the app, type the word like certified here into the comments, and then we'll reach out and share those details with you. Now, before we wrap up, we have a little bit of an announcement. We have something important to tell you guys, for those of you guys who are in our book club. So we're reading this book called Lean Learning right now, right? That's the next book that we're diving into inside of our book club for coaches. And over the last 2 years, we have been really creating not only a powerful space to like read, to connect, get some insights and share ideas, but we finished a ton of books along that process. But while reading Lean Learning, something really hit me. And one of the things that he talked about is this whole idea of learning can feel like progress, but without action, it actually holds us back. So let me say that again. Like learning can feel like progress, but without action, it actually holds us back. So with that being said, moving forward, we are going to be shifting gears. Now, some of you guys know that we've come up with some new programs in terms of the Coach Accelerator, our certification, and we're going to be putting together what's called the Master Coach Collective in a little bit. So we're putting our time and energy and effort into that. But one of the things that we want to do is we want to make sure that people in the community are not just here to read, and they're not just here to look at books, but they're here to implement, to learn, and to take action on it so they can get the results that they want. And so moving forward, after this next book of Lean Learning, we are not going to be reading any more books in the community. We're going to take the books that we have read, and we're going to be implementing and taking action on them. So we're still going to have bi-weekly calls on YouTube where we can do some different diving into the skills and the confidence related to coaching. And we're still going to have the app for people to lean into with the daily motivation, ideas, strategies, coaching sessions, those kind of things inside of the app. But we will not be reading any books moving forward after we finish Lean Learning. It has been a hard decision for me to like really think about. But when I think about the kind of results that I want people to get, I don't want them to get stuck in learning. And we've had so many people, over 9,000 people join the book club, reading the books. And I wish I could say that we had 9,000 people taking action. There's maybe 15 or 20 of you guys who are implementing the things that we're saying here. So I do encourage everybody to keep reading books, but I encourage you to do it in the lean learning way, which is learning and reading the books that you absolutely need to learn next, pulling out just the lessons that you need to learn and taking action on them before you pick up the next one. Because this isn't just hey, let me learn as much as I can. All of us can type into AI, we can type into Google, and we would have all the things we ever need, right? But when we do what's called just-in-time learning, which is what we're reading inside of Lean Learning, that's really where we get the best opportunity to take action and get the results we want. So I wanted to share that with you guys. If you want more details, I made a post this morning inside of the app, so you can see some of the direction changes that we're making. If you are somebody who's like, I just want to read, this is my thing, then continuing this community is not going to be the thing for you. We'd highly encourage you to find another community that's into reading, but we're into more than reading. We're into implementing, taking action, and getting results. And of course, if that's you, definitely stick around. If you are somebody who is interested in a community like that, you could use the same link, modernleadership.us/book club. And you can get access into our free community for coaches. But know that this is not just a place for you to consume. This is a place for you to get better and for you to take action. All right? All right, guys. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for diving into The Big Leap. I'll have this replay up a little bit later if you came in a little bit late. Really, really powerful book. And I would love to hear your takeaways too. I will make a post inside of the app to hear all of them. Of course, you can type them here in the comments if you have one that really sticks out to you. And I just appreciate you guys for always leaning in and for always showing up for the front and also taking action on the things that you're learning. All right. All right, everybody, have a great rest of the week, and we will see you guys in the app very, very soon. Bye, everybody.